Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Fanimail, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time and talk about it every week. Today we'll be talking about Animorphs number 31, The Conspiracy. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden,
Are you the surprise Nazi reference in this episode?
What?
Nobody was surprised. Also, we'll get into it, but nobody ever says that Grandpa G was fighting for the Allies.
Oh.
Ooh.
I mean, he did say that the other guys were singing Silent Night in German. So Jake does say that Grandpa G talked about how his enemies were German, but maybe he was fighting against the good Germans? This is really unfortunate because as we kind of know, Jake is Jewish, so...
Before we get into the summary, it's time for...
Fanimail! Ooh, yeah! Fanimail! Ooh, yeah!
Okay, first piece of fan mail comes from at Tellurium124 on Twitter, and it is a picture of a large bag of M&Ms, and it is labeled sharing size.
What?
And they ask, exactly how will this feed an entire Yerk pool? And the answer is, it can't.
Well,
it's just a marketing thing.
You know that they are flavored M&Ms. You can tell by the color of the packaging. What flavor?
Yeah, they're mint.
I'm thinking it's maple and ginger oatmeal, bitches.
It's mint. He's holding a mint leaf.
No, there's mint and maple and ginger oatmeal.
Oh, of course. Fuck.
Huh?
Don't you remember the epilogue in book 17?
Don't you remember the jingle? Maple and ginger and mint.
But we just put the one on the box.
Okay, next piece of fan mail comes from Matt the Slan, also on Twitter. And they say, most recent episode raises questions I've had since listening to the show and rereading the series. Why don't Yerks get overwhelmed by taste or sex? I feel like Mr. and Mrs. Chapman are railing each other out nonstop.
I mean, they should be. They're a married couple, and the love is real.
And as we all know from Tessa's basic understanding of the world, once you get married, you just, never stop having sex.
I mean, that's my plan.
I mean, you've been holding it in now for how many years?
I'm gonna quit my job and just stay at home, not mom, if you know what I mean.
Just knocking boots and taking loads.
Taking toots. Knocking boots and taking toots.
Knocking boots and taking names, because I'm gonna be married to the whole wide world, y'all. Yeehaw.
I'll take all their names. I'll hyphenate them. I'll hyphenate all their names.
So, this week was supposed to be Braden's summary, but it isn't, is it?
And why is that?
Oh, sorry. That was a setup for you to explain, Braden.
Yes. Well, you see, I was supposed to be doing this one, but I was really scared of this book. It was spooky to me, and putting it into words may send me into I'm a man of a very weak constitution, much like my great racist hero H.P. Lovecraft. And if I spook myself too much, I could go into fits and pass out and die, and my cat would eat me. My cat with a racist name.
The real answer is that this book vilifies certain groups that Braden doesn't feel comfortable vilifying on air.
Yes.
For membership reasons.
We need to cultivate our audience. And by that, I mean very, very heavily sympathize with that. We really need to absolutely just stick our tongue right on their prostate and push. And, they just have the money.
Here's me officially saying this podcast is not like Nazis.
Yeah, this podcast does not like Nazis, and it's weird we have to say that.
Okay. So I'm going to take over the summary. Braden will do my summary for next week.
Yes.
Or sorry, not next week. Next book. So this book starts off with it's not really a goof, although I labeled it goof.
Yeah.
It's not really a joke because it's basically a flashback explaining how Jake's great grandpa, known as Grandpa G in this one, tells Jake once on a vacation at the lakeside cabin that Jake has a quote unquote old soul. I think the whole point of this is basically to just be like, listen, the grandpa's a good person, so just shut up. If you, like, don't care that he dies, you're fucked.
Well, because, yeah, like, it's so weird that Jake in the very intro first chapter of the book is talking about this new character we've never seen before. I wonder why. It's because top of the second chapter, oh no, he's dead.
Right.
Kickstart the plot. Gotta have you think he's a good dude. So he's gonna call Jake old as balls right to his face. But, like, soul-wise. Which is a good thing.
If you heard about some guy who was like a super good dude and you were like hearing about it like you were about to meet him, and then you walked into his office and he was dead in his chair, you'd still be sad.
Yeah, they didn't have to do it this way. This is a good, like, YA way of doing it, but I don't think they had to. This is just like, hey, if we actually have a character talking and being nice to a character that you already like, then maybe it's easier to understand. I agree, Braden. No, it doesn't take much to do it the other way.
It is interesting because I think this is the first book that, or the first time I ever really heard of the phrase old soul. And I still don't really know what it means. So.
That is so interesting.
Hell yeah.
A plot. Grandpa G dies. We learn this right away because Jake's mom is leaving in a hurry in a cab. Jake is basically told that he is going to have to go to their Grandpa G's, or the family lake house that we're now just hearing about for the first time, for 4 days, starting, I believe it's the next day, right? So the mom leaves, and then the next day, they're going to be leaving at like noon.
No, because they're leaving on Saturday. It's currently Thursday night, because all day Friday, as we know later, Jake calls out sick from work.
From school. Yes.
Oh, from school. You know what? It might actually be Wednesday, because there's that whole bit where they, like, do the distraction plan, and that takes a couple days.
So, okay, so basically it's a few days from now that Jake is going to have to leave. And when I say they're leaving, I mean Jake's dad, Jake, and Tom all have to go up for 3 to 4 days, but it's 4 days. Let's get real. Obviously, this is not okay for Tom, because he's going to be somewhere in the middle of nowhere, clearly no access to any kind of Yerk pool. Jake is immediately like, oh fuck. Like, we are now in a bind, because obviously, like, and this is sort of like a weird thing we can discuss later, but Jake has to go and Tom has to go because their dad is like, you have to go. And neither of them can argue with him because it would give away something that they don't want him to know, right?
But I mean, like, even Tom tries to argue with him, and Jake's dad is still, no, Grandpa G is family. You have to go.
Right, but when I say argue, I mean, like, Jake doesn't beat the shit out of his dad mercilessly, telling him, I'm not going.
I mean, Jake's also a 14-year-old boy, and he's not gonna do that because they have a normal family dynamic. What's wrong with you? It's like that bit where Tobias is like, why didn't Tom just say, I'm not going, and that's the end of it? Oh, it's because, like, I could do that because nobody cared what I did. It's like, yeah, Tobias, in a normal family, the parents will boss the kids around. You kind of don't have any of your own autonomy until you move out of the house.
So Jake also can't really, even as an Animorph, interfere with Tom, because that would give away the fact that the Animorph or Andalite bandits have some kind of inside knowledge about Jake's family, which literally only his immediate family would know. So then if the Andalite bandits intervene, then the Yerks are like, well, fuck, let's look closer at this immediate network around this family for the Andalite bandits. It's a really interesting problem, I think, and I think we can get more into it in the speaking tree, because that's more like where we'll talk like logic and stuff.
I will, real brief, I want to say, like, in book 30, we already know from Visser 1, mentioning offhand, like, there has already been some talk that the Andalite bandits aren't, maybe not all Andalites. So yeah, like, Jake doing anything would totally be a red flag.
So they ask Eric for help, and by they I mean Marco and Jake. So Jake lets Marco know what's going on, and Eric traces a call because Jake calls his dad's cell phone after Tom takes Jake. Sorry, yes, this is going to get confusing because they all have the same last name, but I can't say it for spoilers.
We also
reasons.
don't know it yet in the book.
Exactly, and then we don't know Jake's dad's name, which would help a lot, I think, at this point.
Let's just call him Dad.
Jake's dad.
Jake's dad, yeah. Anyways, so Tom convinces Jake's dad to go to a meeting of the sharing so that Jake's dad can explain to the sharing why Tom has to go for 4 days, which is a hilarious thing for, like, as a parent, you must be thinking, like, why does this group have so much control over my kid that I have to, like, they feel they need to call me in to explain his absence?
Yeah, that's
Anyways, it
some
doesn't
cult
matter.
shit.
Well, because Tom's trying to be like, no, I can't go with you for 4 days. I promised the sharing and have a thing to do on Saturday. Jake's dad is just like, I mean, isn't the sharing all about family first? Obviously, this comes first. And so, yeah, Tom's like, maybe just like, come talk to my boss about it. They'll be so mad. But yeah, if I was Jake's dad, I'd definitely be getting like culty vibes from this whole interaction.
So basically, Tom's strategy is, let's put a yerk in my dad so that my dad will not make me go and starve for 4 days at a cabin, right? Now, Jake also knows that he can't reveal that he's involved in this anyhow, in any way, or that the Andalite bandits are involved in this in any way. So they kind of have to keep their distance. So all of this, keep that in mind for this next part. They track down the location using Eric. When Jake calls the cell phone, Tom picks up, blah, 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 triangulate the cell towers. It's garbage. Marco morphs Gorilla, and then outside the mini mall, which is where they kind of guess that they're at the mini mall, but I guess they are. Marco morphs Gorilla, fucks with everyone's cars in the parking lot.
It's great.
It's pretty funny. Also, like, I feel like it wouldn't take much for even one person to be like, hey, there's a gorilla fucking with cars.
Right? They just have to look out the window, but the shutters are pulled on all the windows. Dun dun!
Okay. Anyways, so people come out and they're like, okay, this is disturbed. Like,
You know what,
disturbing.
Kate? Real quick, I think for fun,
Real
this
quick.
is the funnest
Just
part.
another
Just like real quick. Just
Just a
like if we
quick-
could
just
like
a
really
quick-
quickly say as a quick aside. I know I never do these, but like
Ugh.
for flavor, I'll do a real quick aside. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, the inside picture for this book is Jake, Peregrine Falcon Morph, watching Marco as Gorilla pick up cars. Like, you see that beautiful drawing of Marco just, like, picking up cars like a true Animorph. It's very good.
Marco would definitely be using this to, like, do some, like, YouTube pranks if it was the modern day.
Oh, we're going to get into some YouTube shit in the speaking tree. Okay, so everyone comes out. Jake's dad's car is fucked up. Jake's dad is like, it's obvious from the way he's acting that they didn't infest him yet. Because he's like, whatever. Tom's like, come back inside. We'll deal with this later. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? Look at my fucking car. So they go home so that they can call, or Jake and Tom's dad goes home so they can deal with the insurance and blah, blah, blah. Tom is pissed. Of course. Jake is all watching from the side as well. Like, he's not actually there. He's in Peregrine Falcon Morph looking on. So they all have to obviously watch Jake's dad for the next little while because they're obviously going to try to infest him again. One thing that they talk about in the barn, when I say they, I mean all the Animorphs now, is that if they can't infest him, they're probably just going to try to kill him.
Dun,
Right?
dun.
Which is also just like, I don't know, like, well, I'll get into this more in the speaking tree, but like, you really, that's your two options? So Tobias, Axe, and Jake, wait, where am I here? Oh, right. They have to keep an eye on Jake's dad. Tobias, Axe, and Jake do this while Jake is in Cockroach Morph. So they go to his work, which he's a doctor. Jake's dad is a doctor. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, we knew that. I believe we knew that. Maybe I'm just thinking of the TV series.
Yeah. Anyways, there's this like weird sex pest in the parkade who's like staring at Jake's dad with this weird like bald dude with a beard.
And it's like, he looks like Brayden.
Wow. Okay, the thing I was gonna say, he sounds like a proud boy, but oh fucking K.
What's a proud boy? What is this reference?
Uh-oh.
Proud.
4chan.
Another alt-right thing like QAnon. We'll tell you when you're older, kiddo.
Face. Anyways, the dude confronts Jake's dad when Jake's dad's on his way out of work. But it turns out he wasn't actually mad. Like, he wasn't a controller coming to get Jake's dad. He was actually just a dude who was mad about the fact that Jake's dad kept parking in his spot, even though the spot's like not marked or anything. That was a really weird aside. But Jake has to like dive bomb this guy. Was it Jake who dive bombed him?
Jake was the roach, and he flew at his face because he couldn't come up with a plan. He was like, "I'm gonna bug fly at him and gross him out." And then Tobias dive bombed him and grabbed his toupee. And like, this guy is just having the worst day.
Right, exactly. So that was a waste of 3 chapters or something.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. I guess just to show that Jake was super desperate.
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate, but a lot of this book does come off as like, there's a lot of stuff that does not play into the overall problem.
Yeah.
And
It's like weird fillery stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I'd say there are about 3 major points to this story, but I'll talk about what I think those are when we're done with this.
Yeah. So, where was I? Oh yeah, so now that the Yeerks, I guess, I mean, the Animorphs are assuming that the Yeerks know they can't get Jake's dad to be infested, so they're probably going to try to kill him. This is a fucking scene out of a goddamn Tarantino movie that happens now.
Yeah.
So Jake is, I think he's circling the house as a peregrine falcon watching, but then he notices that Chapman is driving, I'm assuming another minivan, like he tried in number 18 where you assassinated that guy. Anyways, he's driving it towards Jake's house, and Jake's like, oh fuck, there's someone else in the car with him. And I think at this point he doesn't see the gun yet. But anyways, he flies down, he demorphs. It's really risky because Tom's in the house and like blah, blah, blah. The dad is morphing. The dad is watering the lawn in the front. Classic dad. Going out of town, better water the lawn. Anyways, how exactly does he do it? Oh, right. As the drive-by is about to happen, Jake grabs the hose and like sprays the car, and like, they're like, oh, darn it. I got sprayed with water. I can't fire my gun anymore. Like, sure. Okay. Anyways, Jake basically foils a murder as Tom like glowers from the porch. I thought that was buck fucking wild. And it's actually
so
not the
intense.
craziest moment in this whole book, which is saying something.
We're about to pop off.
The gang meets up at the barn, and basically Marco, although everyone kind of agrees, I think, with this in a way, says that Jake is like too close to this one, basically, like can't think clearly when it's his family who's involved. So he's like, I'm going to take charge of the plan. The plan basically ends up being, what if we distract the Yeerks from killing or infesting Jake's dad by creating some bigger distraction? And they decide to do that by kidnapping Chapman.
Yep.
Okay, I can understand the logic, although I think there's enough Yeerks that like they could still do both. I'm just saying. But anyways,
They know Chapman's important, so
they go and also like safe to say that Chapman would be too hard to investigate his immediate social circle. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Jake's family in this very specific road trip that happened at the drop of a hat would be pretty suspicious if the Andalites knew about it. Anyways.
yeah.
So they destroy Chapman's house using Rhinomorph and other good shit. They knock out his wife, who is a host, I guess, we know that. But still pretty brutal, like they blow her across the hallway or whatever. They tie up his daughter, Melissa.
That's what she said.
And that's actually pretty sad because we know she's not a host. I guess she might be because that was like 30 books ago. But anyways, they kidnap him. They drag him to a house that's like right across the street. It seems like.
Yeah, basically like right across the street and like 1 or 2 houses down or something.
Which is insane because like they call the cops. The cops do a sweep of the area. Like they don't just.
Right? But they're not gonna miss because there's holograms that we didn't mention.
So they break some glass near Chapman. He has a blindfold on, and they break some glass, and they have Axe walk around on the glass with his hooves, so that Chapman is like, oh, this is obviously an Andalite. Like there's obviously the thought speak, and acts as like kind of threatening him and stuff like that. But all of this turns out to be a show because all they wanted to do was keep him for a few days. So they knew that Chapman would use the broken glass to cut himself loose.
Yeah.
And then he also thinks that he got out on his own presumably without thinking that he was being manipulated.
Yeah.
Okay. They must have a low opinion of the Andalites, I guess, but that's fair. And apparently this is enough time to distract the Yeerks from Tom's whole problem until the Jake boys, the family, leaves for the trip. I am so close to saying his last name every time.
Don't.
Fuck.
You fucking do it. I'm quitting. I mean, that's not really a big threat. You do anything to get me off the podcast. If you say it, I'm staying on the podcast forever.
The next day, the Jake's family, or what's left of them, leave at noon.
No, he tells the Animorphs that he's leaving at noon. They actually leave at 9 a.m. because he's like, I'm done having my friends take risks for me. I'm done having to think of plans or like what to do. I'm just gonna like go balls to the wall and do it on my own. It's like, Jakey boy, that's not a good idea.
Jake's an inconsistent leader. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's not a great leader. Anyways. So they go to the cabin, blah, blah, blah. It's a long ride. There's actually like a whole chapter of them kind of just driving and shit.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
there is.
It was very road trip. It's kind of like the longer it takes to read, the longer it feels like they're traveling for, to more imply that they're far away. You know that high level postmodern shit. Anyways, Jake and Tom, while they're there and everyone's visiting and stuff, they hang out in the attic of the cabin, and they happen to go through some of Grandpa G's old stuff. They find I guess they say he has a Purple Heart, which is an American award.
Yeah, he's got like a footlocker with some of his medals.
But specifically that award, I think, is an American award. So it's like, okay, so maybe he wasn't. My theory of him being a Nazi is
okay, but like he picks up, Tom is like, oh, cool, a knife. It's an old Nazi knife. He must have picked this off of an enemy he killed, verbatim from the book.
Oh, I didn't think that his family thought he was a Nazi.
That's actually it's a thing I've seen at least once, where like somebody's grandpa was like, yep, I'm a Jew. I was in a concentration camp. Here's my tattoo. Don't ask about it again because it's PTSD and stuff. But then like the person told somebody about like where their grandpa's tattoo was, like under his armpit. And he was like, oh, dude, no, they just put tattoos on Jews' wrists. If he had an armpit tattoo, that was an SS blood type tattoo.
Oh, yikesers. Also, I learned that like trading in Nazi paraphernalia is like super illegal. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they probably don't want to glorify the bad guys.
And assigning any kind of monetary value, because they probably, if they did trade in it, they would be worth a lot because they get rarer and rarer as we get further away from the Second World War.
Instead, it's just like some people are like, let's just ignore them, right? And then you don't show them any respect at all.
And also, you don't ever want to be like, hey, here's this Nazi knife, $1 million. It's like, oh, Nazi stuff is worth a lot of money. Anyways, It's a whole thing. So that night, Jake takes the awards and Tom takes the knife. Okay, foreshadowing. That night, Jake
Jake makes him put it back, but then he wakes up and it's gone.
It's really subtle foreshadowing for how Jake
don't spoil
gets
it.
A bunch of awards and Tom gets knifed.
Tom's like, hey dad, knife to meet you.
Anyways, Tom's like,
slut. Knife to meet you, slut.
Tom's dad heads out to the dock, and Tom's like, "Oh, nice of you to join me out here."
It's such a knife night, isn't it, Dad? You know what I've always wanted to say, Dad. You're such a knife father. Shank, shank, shank.
So Tom takes his dad out onto the dock to have a heart-to-heart, I guess, like presumably to apologize about how he's acting like a real dick,
like
honestly,
a huge
before they
asshole,
left. But also he's planning some more dick shit where he's got a fucking Nazi knife in his
Yeah,
pants.
I guess stabbing somebody could be considered a dick move.
Yeah. So it's like Jake is like can see from behind that Tom clearly is going to like kill his dad, which we will talk about, believe me. Anyways, the dock like heaves and like collapses into itself, and the two guys on the dock fall in. We learn kind of right away that this is the Animorphs in the lake actually morphed as a whale and dolphins, but the dolphins, I think Cassie's the whale, which is questionable that a whale could get that close to a dock. But anyways, they break Tom's leg so that he's like incapacitated in the water. They also they save both of them. They like push them to shore or whatever. Jake pulls Tom out of the water and whatnot.
But before that, he's like standing on the dock in Tiger Morph, about to kill his brother, and then his dock breaks. And it's like, he's like, oh, what do I do? And somebody yells at him, Jake, fucking demorph, you idiot! Before they see you. So, yeah, there's that whole bit.
And then maybe the most surreal part about this whole thing, a medevac chopper run by the Chi shows up and pulls Tom back to the city so that he can go to the hospital. And also then the Animorphs head back to town as well. While Jake, I guess, I think Jake and his dad stay for the rest of the days.
His mom comes back too, and then they all go home together.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. The B plot, so that was the A plot. The B plot is just Tom as a Nazi.
Yeah.
Goldenheimer!
Okay, you were gonna say something, Tessa.
Yeah. So Jake is like Jake wolfs down pizza, runs to like Marco's house to be like, I gotta talk to somebody about how Tom just looked at my dad with pure anger. This is the very start of the book. He meets up with Marco. They go back to his place because Marco was like, I was just coming over there to get some notes for class. How convenient. They go back home. Nobody's there. And there's a crumpled note that has been thrown out where Jake's dad says, all right, Tom is taking me to a meeting to see that I can talk some sense into his bosses at the sharing, XOXO, love dad. And Tom had like crumpled it up and put it away. So Jake and Marco morph Bird to try to, then they go talk to Eric, and then they morph Bird to try and get to the strip mall. And Jake says, he's like morph Peregrine. He's like, all right, I'm faster. I'm going now. Jakey boy. Okay. Peregrine falcons are the fastest animals in the earth. Yes. Only in a dive. You and Marco are going to have the exact same speed getting off the ground. Jake might even be slower because his wings are smaller. Like,
I like that this is the thing that you had an issue with. This was your top priority problem.
This was my top thing because, like, everybody talks about how peregrine falcons are the fastest animals on Earth, right? Like, and they talk about it in a lot of the Animorphs books, and then I also hear people talking about it just in real life, because that's the kind of beautiful life I live. But, like, come on, that's only in a dive. They can go super fast. It's not like they're cheetahs where they're always sprinting.
Also, like, wouldn't a lot of objects also go that fast given enough distance of falling?
Yeah, terminal velocity.
Because of peregrine falcons and their diet and how they process food, they actually have farts that shoot them forward while they dive. And that gets them over 200 clicks an hour.
This expertise level of knowledge, fuck.
I'm like the animal expert of the show.
I think this book raises a question that is like never talked about. At least hasn't been talked about. But it's like, there's gotta be kids who are hosts and their parents aren't hosts because the sharing, like, obviously we know operates through schools and youths. What happens when their families go on vacation?
Maybe this is a clue to where the Animorphs are. Maybe they live where the vacations happen. So every vacation is a staycation.
Yeah, Tessa, the one country that literally everyone goes to for vacations.
Clearly the Animorphs live in Florida, because that's the only vacation spot in the United States.
They probably, get the sharing to, break their mom's knees in a mugging or some shit.
I think typically they try to infest the parents, too. If they're like, oh, my parents want to take me on, a month-long vacation, or like 2 weeks, they have a lot more lead up time to try and infest the parents. The thing with this one is because it was a funeral, it was so last minute, there wasn't enough time to like get the parents on board with having slugs in their brains.
Slugs in their butts.
Getting yerked in the ear.
Okay, so I think there's two main issues I have with this, but they're both pretty much the same thing. So why Tom couldn't find some other way to convince his dad not to go that involves something out of Tom's control, right? To escalate straight from like I can see the logic of like, let's infest my dad, because that's two birds with one stone, really, right?
Yeah. Like it talks a bit at the end about like about like Marco and Jake being like, shit, why didn't we just think to break Tom's leg right off the bat? But like, why didn't another Yerk just think like, hey, let's just pretend to break your leg?
Or maybe even better is like, why not fucking as soon as Jake's dad walks into the mini mall, we just get our burliest fucking host to hold him down and put a Yerk in his ear. Like, who gives a shit, right? Like, they're all like, we know Tom's involuntary, so what does it matter? Like,
I mean, that's because they really only infest, like, they have Chapin and they have Victor Trent as their burliest dudes. And both of them together weigh maybe 200 pounds, sopping
Remember
wet.
that guy from the pet store? That guy was fucking bulked up.
He was so into the parrot. Yeah, he's still over there talking to a parrot, man. There's also the lady with the severe haircut that hasn't shown up again. And she looked strong, but I think she might have left to go model some mascara. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but like, Mikhail, what kind of excuse could Tom have had to not go that would have made sense as like a 16-year-old talking to their parent?
Break their leg? Like,
no,
that's
but,
one.
Okay, yeah, so my leg is broken. Oh no, okay. But like, also Yerks don't want to have any kind of, like, they're all about having no discomfort and no pain.
Okay, we know they have people in the hospital system. Why don't they just fucking get a Yerk doctor to say like, Tom's got some weird blood disease.
Yeah, like
just found
the
out
bone,
about,
like it's easy. Just like the bone marrow is going into his blood. We need to keep him here.
Also, it would have to be something real, I guess, because Jake's dad is a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, not impossible, right? Like, the level of escalation is something that only a 17-year-old would think of, but not a 17-year-old surrounded by adults who are also infested by aliens that are perhaps decades old, right?
I guess that's fair. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely other ways they could have gone about it, but I feel like it's a very Yerk way of looking at it, that like, okay, no harm can come to me. What harm can I do to my enemy so that I don't get hurt? Right? Yerks are nothing if not self-preservationists.
Interesting.
Still not convincing me, unfortunately. The thing is, I think it's a very interesting problem. Like, when I was reading what Jake was saying in the first couple chapters, where it was like, oh fuck, I can't directly intervene or even let them know that the Andalites intervened. I was like, oh fuck, like that's actually a really creative problem to solve in a book like this. Unfortunately, they solved it, or didn't solve it, I guess, in some pretty stupid ways. And then the other thing I don't understand is, when they're at the cabin, why does Tom think he needs to kill his dad?
Like, that's just gonna leave a body!
Yeah, what is that gonna do?
Then the guys from Criminal Minds are gonna show up, and they're gonna blow your whole alien subterfuge wide open!
And just, like, the idea that, like, cops would come or something, and then force them to stay not at the cabin. Like, that's the only reason, is like, oh, maybe if I cause enough of a disturbance, everyone will just go back to town. Because,
I mean, a lot of the police are cops, but literally this cabin is 8 hours away.
A lot of the police are cops.
What did you guys think of Marco in this one? Because I thought he was pretty savage.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still living that bright, clear line high from book 30. Which is something that even Jake talks about Marco knowing, like, point A to point B and being ruthless. And it's like, yeah, he really shows it off in this one. Although, Jake not shaking his hand was pretty cold.
Yeah. I was not actually too impressed by that. In fact, my love of Marco is, like, slowly diminishing. I don't know how you feel about it, Brayden, but like in 30, he was kind of like pissing me off a little bit.
The idea that you're fucking giving up on our boy.
I'm not
like
giving
this?
up. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just
Come
saying.
to the dark side.
Well, you don't hate Marco, Tessa.
Ah.
You just like being controversial.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I just thought it was like not funny, not lighthearted, not go with the flow at all. It was like, he was like, Jake, you're too stupid to handle this. Only I, the person who would kill his own mother, knows what to do.
But I mean, like, Jake was literally not thinking clearly at all in this episode. And I mean, I get it, because I don't think clearly in my regular life, let alone when my dad and my brother are fighting about alien invasions. But like, Jake, like, you demorphed from hawk to human on the roof in mid-daylight. Like, in broad daylight. Like, you slipped and were hanging over the roof, and Tom didn't see you only because his back was turned. Like...
Yeah, okay. I mean, that was stupid, and Marco does have the right to say, like, look, listen, you're, like, endangering all of us. The handshake was way too far. It was like, listen, we're still on the same fucking team. Like, I think Marco pushed Jake to not tell them. For
sure. Doing the, like, no hard feelings handshake just kind of, like, was like Marco trying to brush it all off as, like, it's nothing personal. It's just politics. And it's like, no, bud. But also, what are Andalite feet made out of? Because I like the headcanons that they're kind of like these weird mouth hands, but also they have to be hooves because Axe's hooves crunch glass.
I mean, they at least, like, I guess they could be just, like, kind of leathery.
See, here's the thing. Like, keratin? Yes, keratin, what your fingernails are made out of?
Yeah.
Are porous. Your hair is porous, right? Oh. Your skin is porous. Your whole body is like a sponge exuding. I said that very weird. Exuding? How do you say that word?
Exuding.
Exude you. And absorbing like gases and liquids at all times. It's not that much of a stretch to say that you could absorb something through keratin. Mind you, this only leads me to believe even more that something is fucked up with, like, how Axe eats. Like, because he must eat so much.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
To be able to absorb enough through, like, keratin. Because remember, I think it was in the Andalite Chronicles, they talk about how crushing the grass, they don't actually eat the cellulose and fiber, just the nutrients.
Just the juice. They just get that wheatgrass juice shot up in their mouths.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is it even nutrients? Or sorry, is it even liquid? Is it just nutrients? Because it's two different things. Juice implies that they're absorbing a bunch of water, which we know that they can do because that's how they drink. But then also, like, taste is involved. I don't know. I feel like there's no fucking way that they could, like, it could be leathery or have any kind of, like, nerve endings. Maybe it's like hobbit feet.
Oh, maybe. Where it's just, like, really strong and calloused?
New headcanon. Andalites are hobbits.
Oh my god, Andalites don't actually eat through their feet. They just say that. To be cool, but it's really just hobbit feet at the end.
And in very loud thought speak, he screamed, "Proud feet!
Brave feet!
Brave feet!"
What is this reference?
It's too literary for you. Maybe you read too fast going through that part.
Is this Lord of the Rings?
Buddy, this is Lord of the Rings.
I've only read Lord of the Flies, which was a weird sequel.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies where Flydo has to take
the
cursed maggot egg to Mount.
No, I just think about Ring of the Lords, and it's like Lord's
the Lord's Prayer.
He has to drop the cursed maggot in Mount Boom Boom because they like poo, and poo is called Boom Boom.
Wait, is poop called Boom Boom?
You don't go boom boom in the mornings after your coffee?
You are such a dad.
That's how I announce it to my entire family. It's time for my morning boom boom.
Oh my god, no! We were a classy bunch, and we just said use the bathroom.
Then I pooped with the door open and both lids up.
Poseidon's kiss all up on your ass.
Oh man, I took
No, wait. I have one last caveat. One last
yesterday.
caveat. I put my butt under the water when I'm pooping. Oh, Jesus.
Lord in heaven. A monster. We are now officially on the dark side.
Oh,
After that.
Jesus.
Fuck.
Sorry,
Oh
Brayden.
my god.
What were you going to say?
Oh my god.
I was just gonna say I took one of those toilet straddling shits yesterday. That was really great.
Mm-hmm. Where you have to like lean forward, kind of make sure it all gets out.
Yeah, it was
Shit's
a lot
fucked.
like it's a pre-shower shit because you can't have pants on. It's just
Yeah.
like where you like sit essentially backwards on the toilet.
Oh.
What?
Why do you do that?
Yeah, with like your legs like around the back of the toilet.
I understand the visual. I just don't understand the purpose.
It's just really nice. You can like lay your head down. You can like lay your head down while you're pooping.
What?
That
You
is so
should, like,
fucked up.
take a
I've never
poop
heard of
now.
that. I'm so disturbed.
That's the second most fucked up thing I've heard all day. Pooping underwater is still number one.
Okay. Fuck me. Okay, we got to do at least one. I feel like Jake says a lot of like, I need to talk to Cassie. Not because I'm her BF, but because she knows a lot about my dad, I guess?
Well, it's like Cassie knows a lot about emotions. Cassie, what I think it was verbatim, Cassie knows a lot about deep stuff like morality and emotions, and I don't really get it. And it's like, yeah, Jake, you're like a 13-year-old boy. You probably haven't thought a whole lot about your feelings. So
Yeah, pretty accurate. I mean, like, I think it was just him avoiding saying, like, I want my girlfriend to tell me what to do. Not I want, but, like, I would like some advice from my girlfriend.
Oh,
But he couldn't
yeah.
say girlfriend.
because we know for sure they've kissed.
Like sluts.
That'd be gross.
They probably held hands without protection.
Oh my god. No gloves?
No gloves, no loves, y'all. God.
Also, at one point, Rachel calls Tobias's relatives jerks.
This is when
Yeah.
Tobias was like, why didn't Tom just say, I'm not going, and that was the end of it? That's what I did to my aunt and uncle, and he has the sudden realization, oh, they didn't care about me, and that's why I was allowed to say that.
Yeah, it was sort of depressing and unnecessary.
It was, yeah, it was like,
yeah.
it was sad. Oh, depressing and unnecessary, you say. Ooh, we got a couple more books to go.
Yeah. Let's get this depressing bread,
Okay.
as the kids are saying these days.
Oh, also one point that made me like Marco again was when they were all morphing their battle morphs for smashing Chapman's house. And Rachel was like, oh, you're touching me, Marco. And he's like, you love being close to me.
I think
It's like,
because she was like, move over, and then he's like, you love being close to me, and his whole face.
Why did you say it
Erupted.
like harsh like that? Like,
I don't know.
Marco, you're touching me. You fucking love it. Like, I thought of it like, you like it. But you said it like, I thought of it as like creepy, but like not deliberate. You're like, shut up. You fucking love it.
Yeah, Michaela's really aggressive.
Really
with it.
aggressive. Really
I'm
just
sorry.
leaning in.
Next week, in our bi-weekly episode of The Speaking Tree,
Mikhail apologizes.
I'm sorry.
It's an hour-long apology of all of the toilet crimes we talked about in this episode.
I'm just going to put up a YouTube video and it's just called, I'm sorry. And then in brackets, sincere, all in all caps.
Yes.
Okay. We will actually be talking about more effective ways to protect Jake's father in this specific situation. as well as how we would use morphing to help us deal with the death of a loved one, and what we would do with a peregrine falcon morph if we had to use it for personal reasons only. Tessa, where can you find more of our stuff?
You can find more of our stuff on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org or on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else I'll speak like this in your ear while you're asleep. And I'll make you fucking love ASMR. You'll fucking love it. And you know what? It is all sexual. You'll be a pervert for liking ASMR.
The best part is that Braden sits so far from the mic normally that he probably leaned in really far there, and it still was like 3 feet away and not even close to sounding like ASMR.
Oh, yeah, no. This is ASMR. Mikhail's gonna tell you how he poops underwater.
You can show your support for our show on our Patreon page. patreon.com/DORKBAJIR. I can't do this.
We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and bloopers ASMR.
If we get enough Patreon supporters that we're making $2,000 a month, we will start an Animorphs-themed ASMR channel.
Come on, baby, I'll make you fucking come.
Okay, well, that is a strong promise.
Here's a sneak preview of some Animorphs ASMR.
No, God, I can't do it.
I can feel my skull cracking as my rhino horn bursts. It's just a lot of squelching noises. And then like a little bit of like the tap. And that's a Dork-Bajir giving you a haircut. This is Galar.
Speaking of Dork-Bajir, Tessa.
We like to give a shout out to all our Patreons who are Dork-Bajir level or higher by giving them a sexy little slow shout out. ASMR.
I'd like to give a big shout out to new patron Zachary Vaudo, the only person on this list that isn't going to get a creepy ASMR name.
Steve Driven, the unknown.
Max Anicut, the
Greg Della Posta, the
What the fuck is wrong with us?
That was a wet one.
Shanna, Oh, I'm just making some tea. Would you like me to clean the spoon of tea for you?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Is sexual.
We gotta get through this.
Michael Armenta, Oh, excuse me. I'm just drinking that tea Tessa made for you. That's right. This is a tsundere ASMR. You baka. I'm being mean to you.
God. Martha Urquhart, there she goes.
Andrew Vila,
It's like paper or something.
Here's a tissue for your issue.
Oh, no. You know. How did you know I jizzed? Anyanka, That's just some sticky shit on my hands. Don't worry about it.
Mariah Wamby, I just wrote you a love letter.
It's from the point of view of Tobias. Oh, I'm just gonna get a candy.
This has gone long enough. I'm drawing a line. Just a reminder to any new patrons that sign up in the next little bit, we still have some artwork left done by the artist Emily Bourgeois at Hello Puns on Instagram and Twitter. I think we have 19 or 18 more pieces of artwork. It's about 6x6. It's printed on cardstock. You can check our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for pictures of it, but it's like an illustration of us three, and there's some cool Animorphs alien shit in the background. For any new and upgrading patrons, you will get this shit mailed to you, and I will mail this to fucking Siberia if that's where you're from. I swear to God.
And they're all signed.
Oh yeah, we signed them in like a cool chrome India ink kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So check it out. Again, the link is patreon.com/DORKBAJIR for the Fanimorphs. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the sexpert.
And I'm Braden, the...
Okay, and this has been Fanimorphs, the ASMR Chronicles.
The entire last 5 minutes are going to be unlistenable to the common citizen.
Also, I love how we just tortured the people who give us money.
Oh yeah, like we'll fucking humiliate the shit out of you. Don't worry about it.
What do you want to eat right now? Jinx!
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Sophie. And this is
We Watch Food,
a podcast all about the food we like to watch.
We'll talk all about the best, the craziest, and the tastiest TV, movies, and YouTube channels.
Not to mention trendy food fads and sumptuous food trivia.
Plus, we end every episode with a recipe from one of us.
So join us every Saturday for a new episode and a new insight into what makes us watch so much food.
You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, as well as a bunch of other awesome podcasts.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at We Watch Food.
And on Twitter at We Watch Food Pod. So I've been Mitch.
I'm Sophie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy.
a podcast network.